Okay, so now on this section, what we are going to do, we're going to take all the things we've learned and we're going to apply it on the NBA project. Of course, if you don't want to do this, because we've already learned about this, we've already know how to use Firebase and how to create a form, you can move on to the next topic, which is going to be Redux, okay? And then you can choose if you want to know about Redux, or you can go to the node section or to the database section or whatever. Again, it's just up to you. We're going to do this so we can apply what we learn on a different scenario. And of course, we're going to do some other things. Instead of using Google authentication, we're going to use regular user email and password authentication. We're going to do a few more things. But again, it's completely up to you. Okay. So now the first thing that we need to do is open the NBA project. I have the terminal right here. I did the npm start, and if I go to the project, of course, nothing works. If you remember, we were using JSON server. I didn't start the JSON server, so of course we are getting our connection refused because it's making a request to the server, but there is no server. But now we're going to be using Firebase, so we are going to kind of migrate everything to Firebase. We don't have a Firebase project, so we're going to create it right now. Now, if you don't have the latest, the last version of the NBA app, the project we made previously, you can download it. Of course, I've added a zip to this project, and you're going to have two downloads. One is going to be the full project, and then you're going to have a JSON file. You're going to see why in a minute. So first do npm start to start the project, and this is what you should be getting. Then we're going to go to Firebase, and we're going to add a project. I have a few other projects, but doesn't matter. So this one is going to be called NBA, and then I don't know, F for full stack. And of course we cannot do this, so we can do this. It's going to be MBL full. This is my name. You can choose whatever name you want. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to create the project. It's going to take a couple minutes or maybe seconds. Could be seconds. Should be seconds, minutes. It's a long time. All right, almost done. And okay, so we are here. Now, we're going to have the dashboard. Everything looks good. So we're going to be adding a database first. So first we're going to fix this, and then we're going to be adding authentication. So now if I go to database, we don't have a database just yet. So it's going to take us here, so we can click get started. And for now, we're going to be changing the rules. The same thing with it previously, and then we're going to be changing this back. So I'm going to go to rules, and I'm going to say read true and, write true. Same thing we did before. So we can add and read and write without authentication. Okay, so everything is good. So let's go back to data. Now, of course, we're going to be fetching the data from this database, from this endpoint, and we don't have a real database. We could take what we had previously, the db.json, but that is going to be adding a different structure. So what I did, I just created the same databases with all the Firebase IDs and everything else. So go to the resource. Download, you're gonna have a file that is gonna be called Firebase_nba.json. Okay, just download that file. You have it right here at the top on down resources, and you will need to go right here. You click right here, and you say import JSON. And this is, of course, is gonna import that JSON and create all the database for you. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna pause the video, do it, and then just be right back. Okay, so everything's imported, and right here you're going to have the same thing, articles, themes, and videos, and for each you're going to have the ID from Firebase, and then you're going to have this ID. We're going to see in a minute, you're going to see later why do we keep this ID, and we're going to have a problem with this, but don't worry, we are going to tell you how to fix it. So okay, so we have pretty much all the database that we're going to be using at the beginning. Good? Okay, so I'm going to close this. And now the next step, since we have a database, will be including the Firebase project in our actual project. So I'm going to go to project overview and then add Firebase to your web app. We're going to have all the configuration, all the keys and everything else. But first we need to do something, since we need to install Firebase, the Firebase dependency to connect everything, we're going to be doing that first. So I'm going to do Control C, I'm going to kill this process, I'm going to do clear, and now I'm going to go right here and I'm going to say npm and then Firebase. I'm going to be checking the latest version of this dependency, this library, and it's 4.8.1. This is going to be the latest and the one we're going to be using right now. So we're going to do npm install and then Firebase and then at, and it's, oh, forgot, 4.8.1. 4.8.1 and then minus save. So of course, this is going to go and install the dependency. I'm going to pause the video and be right back. Okay, so everything is installed. So now I'm going to do npm start. It's going to take a few seconds and I'm going to go back to our project. Of course, this is going to refresh. So now we need to include all the configuration. We need to go to connect the Firebase. So I'm going to go right here to the source and create a new file that is going to be called Firebase, just like we did before, firebase.js. So this one, we need to import things. So if you remember, it's going to be import, then this, which means all, and we store it as Firebase. And then of course from, oh, got a message from Firebase. Okay, now we're going to bring this config variable. So I'm going to copy all of this and paste it down here. Okay, so we have the configuration, the keys, we have all the, all the variables we need. So now we need to initialize app to connect to Firebase. So we're going to call this method right here, this variable right here, and we're going to bring the initialize app method. And we're going to be passing config. And that's it, we are connected. Should be working. Okay, so now just like, oh, let me just lower the volume of this. There we go, don't bother me, I'm recording. Okay, so we're gonna need to do a lot of things. First, we need to use the Firebase and the database, and we're gonna be using, just like we did before, we're gonna be using different collections, different references inside the database. We have articles, themes, and videos. Just beforehand, I'm gonna create variables that we're gonna be exporting and we're gonna be using whenever we reach that section. So first I'm going to create Firebase and then DB, just like we did before. And this one is going to be equal to Firebase and then database. So now what we can do, we can use Firebase DB to make a reference to articles, themes, and videos. So I'm going to do that. Const, I'm going to call it Firebase and then articles. You can use whatever you want, you can use whatever name you want. And right here, it's Firebase DB dot, and since we have articles, I'm going to make a reference to articles. Good. What else? What else do we have? We have themes. So I'm going to say const Firebase and then themes. And it's going to be Firebase DB dot ref and then themes. What else? We have videos. So it's going to be const Firebase and then videos. It's going to be equal to Firebase and then dot reference and then videos. Good. Okay. So this kind of looks nice. We're going to do a lot more right here, but for now, kind of everything is ready. We need to export all of this so we can use it inside our project. So I'm going to go to export. I'm going to open curly brace. And first we have the Firebase. We're going to be using that. Then we could be using Firebase and then DB. So I'm going to export it. Then we have Firebase articles. Then we have Firebase videos. What else? We have Firebase themes. There we go. For now, we have this just this 5 variables. So okay, so I'm going to save it, and now we can use this Firebase document to connect with our application. Of course, we're going to have a lot of error messages. Nothing is going to work. We're going to fix that right now. So I'm going to go to the first component that we should be getting right here. So the first component is going to be kind of the slider. If you remember, we had a slider at the beginning. So I'm going to go to components. I'm going to go to home. I'm going to bring the home. So this is the first thing we see. So we can have news slider, the news list. If you remember, we have a news list, and then the videos list. Now, if I comment all and just save it, Of course, nothing is going to get rendered, but at least we are not going to get error messages. You know, we are not going to get the connection messages, the error messages. So for now, we're going to go step by step. The first thing we're going to be fixing is going to be the news slider. So I'm going to comment all of this. I'm going to save it, and we're only going to get the error messages from the news slider. Now the news slider, if we go to the news slider, and one tip, if you're in Windows, it could be Alt or Shift. I don't remember, but if you press on the Mac, if you press the command and then you hover over the component and you click it, it's going to open that particular component. Okay, so if we check this, what is the problem with this? Right here we have the problem. We are making a request to something that doesn't exist. And of course, we are not getting data. So now we need to fix this because we're using Firebase. So I'm going to go right here at the top, and I'm going to remove what we are not going to be using. We are not going to be using URL because, you know, we are making a request to Firebase, so we don't use it. And we are not going to use Axios either. So we're going to be using Firebase, so we need to import some things from Firebase. It's going to be Firebase and then articles. If you remember, we've exported this as Firebase articles. Good. So this is going to bring the articles. Good. So I'm going to say from, I'm going to open and close, and dot dot forward slash dot dot forward slash one more time, and then we have Firebase. Okay. So now Firebase is available inside our project. What we need to do right now is to change all of this. Now, keep this in mind that we have a start and we have an end, and we make a fetch to articles, and then we set the state of news colon response.data. I'm going to comment this, and I'm going to go right here at the top, and I'm going to be, I'm going to start to write all the new logic. So first we need to make a request to Firebase articles. Okay. Now, if you remember, we need to get 3 different sliders, just 3. So with Firebase, what we can use is the limit to first or limit to last, depending on where you're going to be starting from the end or from the start. So if I use limit to first, I'm going to say I only want to get 3 articles. So limit to first and 3. Remember that whenever we request for data, we need to use the ones. In this case, that is going to be running once, and we bring the value. And this one is going to give us back a promise. Now the promise contains a snapshot, just like this. Snapshot. This snapshot, of course, contains all the data we need about these articles. Now again, if you remember, this snapshot has a lot of things that we don't really need. The only thing we need from the snapshot is going to be just the articles. Now the thing is that we need to set the state, and again, if you remember, the data that comes back from the Firebase, it's a little bit weird. We kind of need to do the snapshot dot for each that we did in the previous section, so we can need to do that. So okay, so I'm going to go right here, and inside the snapshot, I'm going to say const, and we're going to be getting news. So news is going to be equal to an empty array. Okay, then I'm going to grab the snapshot, I'm going to do a for each, and I'm going to be looping this. Now on each iteration, I'm going to get a child snapshot. Okay, so now with each element that I'm getting, I'm going to be pushing this to the news array that we have right here at the top. So I'm going to say push, open and close, and I'm going to just pass an object. Now I'm going to be changing things a little bit. First, what I want to do, I want to put inside everything that has to do with the child snapshot and then the val. Okay, and then I'm going to do comma. Now, if you remember, inside Firebase, we have different IDs. If I go to articles, we have this ID, and then we have this ID. But in this case, for the slider, I kind of don't need this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to save the ID of this one as ID. So the application is going to loop, and it's going to overwrite this one. We're going to see this in a minute. So I'm going to say ID, and it's going to be equal to child snapshot dot key. Oh, that key. There we go. Key. So after this is ready, what we need to do is to set the state. So I'm going to say this dot set state and open and close, and we pass news. All right. I'm going to save it, and go back to the project. Now the project is going to reload, it's going to do something, and then you get the 3 sliders and all the data. Now if I do a console log for whatever we have inside state, console.log, and then this.state, we're going to get kind of something different than we have. So we can have news and nothing, and then news, an array of 3, and inside we're going to have the author and everything else. And now the ID, it's not the position of the record. It's going to be just the ID we had on the Firebase. So we're going to be switching between those two. Okay, and this is cool. This is going to work, and we're going to be doing a lot of this. Now the thing is, I don't want to type and to do all over again every time I have to fetch something. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a function that we're going to be using and calling it to do this. We're going to write it one time and then we're going to be using it. So I'm going to call it Firebase and then looper, something like that. And it's going to be equal to a function that is going to be running something, doing something. This one is going to be receiving the snapshot we get. So it's going to be snapshot. And right here, inside here, we're going to do pretty much the same thing we are doing here. Just going to copy all of this, paste it right here. So this is snapshot, is going to be, we're going to be looping this snapshot and saving some data. Since news is kind of a for news and not for all the data, and this is a kind of a global function, instead of news, I'm going to change the name and call it data. I'm going to say data and then data. Now, every time we use this, it's going to return the data of whatever we are passing as a snapshot. So instead of returning the loop, I'm going to return and then data, just like that. So whenever we call this and we pass a snapshot, we are going to get the data we need. So now I'm going to be exporting this. I'm going to say comma and Firebase looper. Since we're going to be using this inside the slider, I'm going to go at the top and just use it. And now there's no need to use this any longer. What we could do is just call that new variable, that function right here, and use it. So I'm going to go right here at the top. I'm going to delete this first, and I'm going to say const. Let me make this right. Const news. And it's going to be equal to Firebase looper, open and close, and we pass snapshot. And this is going to be returning whatever data we want inside news, and then we set the state. This is a lot smaller, and we're going to be using this a lot of times, so this will save a lot of times. So this will save a lot of time. I'm going to save it. Let's see. Different way, but same result. That's good. So everything looks good. So now the next thing is going to be going to home and fixing the news list, and then we're going to fix the videos list. We have more things going on right here, so we're going to do a little bit more than here. But, just step by step. Let's go to the next video and start the news list.